Two great games last night in the NBA. The Bucks with an overtime thrilling win to keep their season alive. They still trail 3-1 despite Giannis getting injured in the second quarter. And the Lakers ended up tying the series with the Rockets after almost blowing a 21-point third quarter lead. The Rockets exploded, but they found a way to take the lead. But Jordan, I want to introduce you. Jordan, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Glad to be here.
So what's your initial take on the Bucks and the Heat? Giannis got hurt. How does this make Giannis look? What are your thoughts on the series? And could we even see a Game 6?
I think we could see Game 6. Now, I'm not going to overreact and say, the Bucks are better without him, but I definitely think they stepped up. I think the Heat definitely relaxed when they saw him go down. They thought, maybe we have this game in the bag. But this Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe, they all stepped up. They made big shots, and if Giannis is able to come back, which I guess we'll see, I think this could be some momentum with no fans. We've never seen a team come back from a 3-0 in the NBA, but there's been no fans. They don't have to go back to Miami. It could happen. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm looking forward to see what happens.
So, well, first of all, this series is not going 7 games. The Bucks are not winning the series. The Heat are winning in 5 games. The series is over. It was really over before it started. Let me address the issues. Number one, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's overrated. Chris Middleton is overrated. Budenholzer, very overrated. The entire Bucks team, extremely overrated. Every single one of them. Budenholzer does not know how to make in-game adjustments, does not know how to make game-to-game adjustments. He got really lucky and got bailed out by a great performance by Chris Middleton. Late in the game, I want to touch on when it was tied, I believe, with 21 seconds left. Chris Middleton just had an isolation on the left wing. That's a terrible play. He didn't drop any play, had no X and O's play. Just draw a set, have someone come up the screen to give you a good look, and then the Heat doubled him, and then that's when Budenholzer had to call a timeout. I think Middleton did, whatever. But then I got to give credit where credit's due. Middleton stepped up big time once overtime came, even though he had another disappearing in the fourth quarter shooting 0-7. But in Giannis's case, I mean, obviously we hope he comes back, hope for the best, hopefully a speedy recovery, nothing serious. This does look really bad on him. He came out of the gate looking like we're not going down in 4 games. This is not happening. I think he had 19 points in 11 minutes on 8 of 10 shooting. He was fantastic before he ultimately got injured. But I just knew but some people were trying to say, oh, well, the Bucks are actually really better than him because I believe they were minus 32 with Giannis on the court and then plus 7 off the court. Stop that notion. But I just think Giannis is not a closer. He's a back-to-back MVP, but he still can't close. I want to hold him to the same standard as we do other superstars because we've held certain somebodies to a certain standard when they disappear in the fourth quarter. Kawhi Leonard being one of them last game. LeBron James, every time he doesn't go bonkers in the fourth quarter, he gets killed by the media. The media has a field day. So I want to keep the same energy. Chris Middleton nor Giannis is a closer. Budenholzer doesn't know how to close out games. The Bucks have a ton of concerns, and they have a lot to look forward to moving forward. They have a lot of decisions to make this
I know we're both barely old enough to remember, but if you look at it, there's a lot of similarities with this Bucks team compared to the first stint, LeBron James. No, think about it. You have an all-time freak-type athlete, obviously in Giannis. You have a number 2 all-star who's really not an all-star. You look at someone like Mo Williams or Antoine Jameson for the Cavs. You have a Mike Brown, a good coach, regular season coach. They're built for the regular season. Mike Budenholzer, I feel, would fit that. And you have a guy that can't get it done and a guy who's getting beat in the conference semis, conference finals, conference semis, who eventually is a small market team, is going to have to go somewhere else in 2021, it looks like.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, but here's the thing. The term same means identical. Their situations are not identical. They have a few similarities, but they are far from identical.
Well, LeBron has been in the limelight since he's 16, 17. Giannis was only a couple of years ago. So obviously there's not going to be the criticism. And
I know where it's so the thing is, I know where it's coming from. It's coming from that, like, they're back-to-back MVPs and when they're getting eliminated. But it's totally 2 different scenarios. Not only did LeBron make a finals appearance before he won his first MVP, but I want to use the 2 MVP seasons that both of them had to compare. LeBron's case in 2008-2009, when he won his first MVP, he had one of his best playoff runs of his career. He had that fantastic performance. I think he dropped like 47 against the Hawks in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference semifinal.
And then lost in 5 to Orlando.
No, they lost in 6, but I want to touch on that series. LeBron proved he could close and hit clutch shots before that series and that series. Game 2, he hit the buzzer beater game-winning 3 down 2 points. In Game 1, he dropped 49. They happened to lose. Game 4, they all kill him that he's not a clutch. He can't hit clutch free throws, right? Down 100 to 98 With 0.5 seconds left, he hit 2 free throws to force overtime, which they ultimately lost. But in that series, I think he averaged like 38, 8, and 8. He had 3 40-point games and 2 35-point games. So LeBron proved that he could play in big moments, play in big time games, hit clutch shots, which Giannis can't do. Let's look at last year against the Raptors. They were up 2-0. Then they ultimately lost Game 3 in overtime to the Raptors, and that's where it really let loose. Nick Nurse and Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors found the game plan how to stop Giannis, which is build the wall. Budenholzer didn't know how to make an adjustment. Giannis couldn't really get involved because we know he can't shoot. I'm not educating anyone by saying Giannis can't shoot. He simply can't shoot. He wouldn't go in the post, wouldn't get any other touches. Chris Middleton disappeared as well, and they ultimately lost 4 straight games. And now this year, it's like the same thing happening. They had all offseason, the whole quarantine to get ready to see the exact same situation. You know Spo's a great coach. You know he was going to try to build that wall. And when that came, they still have no answer for it. They have no way to get Giannis involved down the stretch. Your best players need to close out games, which Giannis is not, and their best half-court option, Chris Middleton, he's not doing it either. Even though he did it in overtime yesterday, the fourth quarter, he was almost –
that was definitely fluky.
Right.
I look at a team like Miami, though, and, I mean, I'm not going to say they're designed to stop the Bucks and stop Giannis, but they match up incredibly well. Now, I think if you take the Bucks and put them against someone like the Celtics or the Raptors, the Bucks might fare better than the Miami Heat. But the Miami Heat, they have Bam Adebayo. I think 2 guys in the NBA are suited to slow down Giannis because you can't stop them.
Right.
It's Bam and AD. They're just built for it, the way they're built. And they have other guys, Jimmy Butler, Jay Crowder, guys that can shade on them when they need to. So at 48 minutes, however minutes Giannis plays, they're going to have a guy that's suited to slow him down. And not a lot of teams have that. And Eric Spoelstra is a good coach. Jimmy Butler is a good closer. The Heat deserve to win this series. I think they'll win in 5 or 6. If it gets to 6, if I'm Miami Heat, I'll press the panic button a little bit, but I don't see it going to 7. I don't see it going 7 games.
The thing with shutting down Giannis, no one's guarding him one-on-one. Nobody in the NBA, literally nobody. The way they do it is if it Jay Crowder, Jimmy Butler, Bam, whoever's on him, Giannis has the ball at the top of the key. You know what he wants to do. You know he's not going to pull up and shoot. You know he wants to attack the paint. Spo has the wall built perfectly, having 2 defenders waiting for him in the paint for whichever way he spins. That's why he's had so much trouble all season long. All series long. And then what's really slowing him down is he's getting his numbers throughout this series, but why they're in position every single fourth quarter to win the game, and they're blowing it because the game is slowing down once the fourth quarter comes, especially it's almost like it's like every single game. It's like the 6-minute mark, the Bucks just go cold because Giannis has nothing to do. That's why I keep they're a transition team. They want to push the pace, but I keep saying I want to see Giannis in the post. No one's going to guard him in the post one-on-one. The only way to stop him is double him, which Giannis has proven to be a good passer, which if down the stretch he needs to be a playmaker because he's getting doubled, that's what you need to do. The Bucks will be way more successful that way, but Giannis being at the top of the key is basically, honestly, close to a liability.
Yeah, and I mean this sort of goes into the question of what are the Bucks going to do to surround him? There's not many free agents this class. They're going to package Middleton and someone else for a trade for a Bradley Beal. I don't know if Damian Lillard would be on the block, but someone of that caliber. Because Middleton, I mean, he's an all-star, but I think we all know he's really not. Take him off the Bucks, and he's not an all-star. No one's batting an eye at him. So if they don't make a move, I mean, he's got other places to go 2021.
I'm just going to call it what it is. Once the Bucks do lose this series, I definitely want to touch on again more in detail of what the Bucks should do in the future and keep it really brief before we go. I want to say that I think the Bucks should trade Giannis because he's not going to sign an extension. Or your other option is trade Middleton and other pieces to get him a legit co-star, a co-star who could not only create his own shot throughout the game but close out games, a legit superstar paired with him. I'll go into more detail of that another show, but to switch gears real quick, Lakers and Rockets, after the Rockets took a 1-0 lead, LeBron had a 0-point fourth quarter in Game 1. They responded immediately, jumped off the gate. They were up 21 in the second quarter, I believe, finished the half up 16. And then the Rockets exploded in the third quarter. Despite Russell Westbrook playing really bad, the Rockets fought their way back in the game, but ultimately the 2 stars for the Lakers really closed the deal. What are your thoughts on last night's game? The Lakers tying it up.
The Lakers showed a lot of heart. I mean, the first half they came out jumping. I expected that. The third quarter, the Rockets, it almost seemed like they sold their soul for all those threes to go in, and they would regress back to the mean in the fourth, which they did. And the Lakers had to rotate better in the fourth. They did, and LeBron came alive in the first 4.5 minutes of the fourth. He really opened things up for AD and other guys to show their worth. And then another guy, 2 guys off the bench, Markieff Morris had a big game, made some clutch shots, and Rondo plus 28. Now Laker fans are quick to jump on the criticism for Rondo.
I'm one of them. I'm one of them.
Rightfully so, the past 2 years, but everyone's been hearing the murmurs, just wait to the playoffs, wait to the playoffs. Well, this was his first sort of game back. Game 1, I don't really count that. Game 2, he was plus 28, plus minus. I mean, he played great. And the thing is, people will say, oh, maybe that's fluky. Well, he shot 1 for 5 from 3. So, maybe there was parts where he can improve. I'm not saying he'll do that every game, but if you can get 18 to 20 minutes from Rondo with the bulk of that when LeBron's on the bench to direct the offense, I think that softens the Avery Bradley blow. And within the first 2 series, you look at the perimeter, everyone says, oh, the perimeter is where the Lakers can't guard,
right?
Which is definitely their weak spot. But the first series, you have Dame and CJ. They took care of that. If you could take care of Westbrook and Harden, even though Westbrook's struggling, if you could take care of that, you look at series that may be down the line. Obviously, they're going to have their hands full with Kawhi, Paul George, maybe Jason Tatum, Pascal Siakam, but they're better suited for that. So if they can take care of the first 2 rounds, it looks like they, already jumped that ship.
Right. So to touch on that game, if you want to go to – in the first quarter, I loved what they did defensively. The Rockets are the 4th best fast break team. They love to get in transition. They love to push the pace. That's when they're at the best. If Russell Westbrook's attacking the rim, finishing, facilitating to his other guys, we know what Harden's going to do in terms of his scoring, and he can facilitate as well. But LeBron and the Lakers slowed the pace down. That's why the Rockets cannot get good shots. The Rockets want to push. They want to shoot threes. They couldn't do that early in the game, and that's ultimately what happened, why the Lakers took such a big lead. And, of course, the 2 stars they jumped out to an early start. Anthony Davis was super aggressive, finally killed the narrative that P.J. Tucker is going to lock him down. Whoever says that, I mean, please fact check. Watch some film of last game. Anthony Davis was aggressive off the bat. LeBron was sensational, like we know he is. And they killed him in the first half, and that's why they were up 16. But the third quarter, and I'm very critical of Frank Vogel. I'm not a fan of Frank Vogel at all. He went to his zone defense. The Lakers were basically just running in circles. It was trying to double. Then once they kick it, just rotation. You're really just running in circles. And the Rockets were getting fantastic looks, and that's why they were able to fight themselves back in the game. That's why they ultimately took the lead. But once the fourth quarter came, they went back to man defense. LeBron and Anthony Davis did what they came to do. They played like the superstars we know they are. LeBron was fantastic, and other role players off the bench, Markieff Morris, especially in the first quarter, had dropped like 4 threes or something. Kuzma still gave a spark plug. Really like what Kuzma's bringing you. But collectively, the Lakers played a fantastic game. And I think this series, honestly, it shouldn't really be close the rest of the way. The Lakers should win in 5. I predicted they would win in 4, but they really should win the series in 5 games.
I see it going 6.
No answer for them.
I see the series going 6. I think the Rockets, if they have a good shooting night and the Lakers don't, say KCP and Danny Green don't combine for a great shooting night, I could see the Rockets winning another. I do think the Lakers win handily in the 3 or 4 or the 3 games they win. But what I didn't like what Frank Vogel did, sort of was out of his hands. What he did was McGee got hurt and he couldn't play that 2 big lineup against the Rockets, which
Dwight Howard was injured. Can't leave that out.
Dwight Howard getting minutes and, like against the Clippers or the Bucks. But against this team, if Kuzma and Morris are playing well, there's no need to play AD and McGee or AD and Howard and play, but AD and Howard at the same time.
Right.
And it's just out of a liability, especially running around, rotating against a small ball, super fast team. So McGee gets hurt, and then the fourth quarter, Lakers, go on a run, win the game. So if McGee comes back, it seems like Vogel's pretty adamant on playing him, and Laker fans are going to criticize him. I think eventually he's going to have to stop playing McGee and AD at the same time.
The thing is, Dwight Howard not playing was crucial because he's just such a great rim protector. And people are love to be critical of JaVale McGee. I think JaVale McGee's done a great job in the 2 years he's been with the Lakers. He's there to give you some rim protection and rebound, which he's done very well, especially against a small ball Rockets team. It basically eliminates anything they want to do in the paint. So I honestly like what he brings, and they need Dwight Howard back. Dwight Howard is a critical piece of this team, and especially if they do win this series and make it to the Western Conference Finals, they will certainly need those 2 bigs to be protectors against a small team again like the Clippers. 100%. All right, that's going to wrap up today. I want to thank Jordan for joining me. Jordan.
Thank you for having me.
All right, talk to you guys soon.